Hey folks, welcome to Keyboard Skills Pro. My name is Tom. Welcome once again and thanks for joining me here on my YouTube channel. Today we're going to talk about musical intervals, and these are perfect if you're going to be perhaps working towards grade 3 music theory exam, or maybe working through a grade 3 music theory handbook. Now with intervals, what you have to remember is that it's not just the distance between the two notes that we need to understand, it's also the type of interval. Now at grade 3, there's basically two types you're going to have to be able to identify: major intervals and minor intervals. So let's show you how to work these out. Here we go with example number 1. Now here's an interval in C major. We have our tonic note, C, and we have our third degree of the scale, E. So what we do is we count from C, and we count that as note number 1. The next note above would be D, so that's number 2, and E would be 3. But the question is, what kind of interval is it? Is it major or minor? Well, the interval is in the key of C major, C, D, E. And in all major scales, the interval of a third is major. So that's the answer. This interval is a major third. Okay, let's show you another one now. What about this one? Still in C major. Let's start at the bottom with our tonic note of C, and then above it, let's place an A. Count between the two notes. Always remember, go from the bottom to the top, starting with note number 1, middle C. Counting up, D, E, F, G, A, you've got a 6, which then means this is a major 6, because in major keys, the 6th is a major interval. Now, if you're wondering, well, how do I know all this? Well, of course, I've learnt it myself. But here's a little diagram just to explain how major keys work. So whether you're in C major, G major, D major, whatever, the intervals between the tonic note at the bottom and the top note, the 7th, are all set out for us. They're defined, okay? So if you have C to C, you probably won't ever see this particular question, but C to C is a unison interval. It's the same note, okay? We then got C to D, and in major keys, the seconds are major intervals. The third is a major interval. The fourth and the fifths are not major. We term these perfect. The sixths and the sevenths are majors, and the octave is also perfect. So just remember that seconds, thirds, sixths and sevenths in a major key are major intervals. Let's take a look at our next example. Here's an interval which is in G major. So we're going to start with a G note, that's our tonic, and above it I'm going to put a B. So let's count up: G, A, B, 1, 2, 3. Now, in the key of G major, the third is a major third because it's a major key. So G to B is a major third. Now, sometimes you might in the future get asked to adjust the interval to make it smaller or bigger. So here's that same example again, G to B. Now again, we're in the key of G major. You can see that it's labelled G major, the key signature's right there. We've got an F sharp. But notice that the B has a flat in front of it. Now the flat makes that B move closer to the G. Why? Well, because B natural is above B flat. So another way of thinking of it is that the interval has gotten smaller. By how much? Well, when you move a B natural down to a B flat, it's a semitone lower. So the major interval that we had before is no longer major. We've made it smaller, and when you make a major interval smaller, it becomes minor. Now, what you have to remember is just because we're in the key of G major, that doesn't actually mean that we can't have a minor interval. We've created a minor interval by including the flat next to the B. If it wasn't there, it would be a major third. But the fact that there's a flat there, the B has moved down one semitone, getting closer to the G, which makes it a minor third interval. Now, it's worth bearing in mind that the question that you might get asked is asking you to name the interval. At grade 3, normally the intervals are kept in the key that they're named after. So if it's an interval in G major, it'll start on G, and if it's in C, it will start on C. But just bear in mind that the question is asking you to name the interval. So in that last example, you can be in the key of G major, but your interval can be a minor. Let's recap. In major keys, seconds, thirds, sixes and sevenths, those intervals are always major by default. That's their basic setting. You can adjust them by including flats to make them minors. Now, what if your question's in a minor key? Well, in minor keys, the third and sixth intervals are minor by default. So, let's take an example in A minor. So here I am starting on A, I'm going up through B to C. Now it's a third. Now I'm in a minor key, so the interval of a third is a minor third. Just one little thing to mention, here's another example of turning a minor interval into a major interval. Here's an example in G minor. You can see the key signature there, 2 flats, and the name G minor at the top. I'm starting on G, which is my tonic of G minor, and then I'm going to include a B. Now that B would be a B flat because of the key signature. So I have G, A, B flat, and that makes it a minor third. Remember, in minor keys, thirds and sixths intervals are minor by default. Let's include a natural sign in front of the B note. This cancels the effect of the flat in the key signature and raises the B 1 semitone higher. Because the interval has now got bigger, it now becomes a major third interval. So although you're still in a minor key, the interval in this particular example is a major interval. So watch out for that. You can be in a minor key but have a major interval, and you can be in a major key and have a minor interval. So don't forget, often questions ask you what type of interval is it, as well as the number. Some general hints and tips when you're counting intervals: always start from the bottom note and go to the top, and double check your answers. Ask yourself, have I answered what the question has asked me? Hope that's been some help. Don't forget, if you've got any questions, do send me a message via my website, tomhorton.co.uk, and please do positively comment below. It'd be great to hear your comments and thoughts. Please do hit the subscribe button, and if you've enjoyed these videos, please do consider becoming a supporter of mine on Patreon. All the details below in the description. Thanks for watching another video here on Keyboard Skills Pro, and have lots of fun learning about intervals and your music theory. Take care, and I'll see you soon.